Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Rez Infinite. So, we did as much as we could in the Beyond mode, and honestly some of these Beyond options, as far as having to get 100% shot down rate and item collection in areas 1 through 5, or play for over 10 hours, really makes it more seem like it would be easier just to play for 10 hours. However, we can unlock the beam types by just beating the score attacks multiple times, and it says clear them. It doesn't inherently, I think, mean I have to beat the 150,000 score for each level except for the final level, which is 300,000 levels. So we're effectively just playing the game a second time, but we're now attempting to get good. And this is effectively just the tutorial section, where you're trying to get as much of an idea that you should try to max out your hits and your lock-ons. But you basically have to know where the enemies are coming from at a certain level. And you don't want to take too much damage here. That's kind of a good example of where you can start targeting things quicker. There is definitely a question though. If you were going to try and cheese this and just play the first level 25 times because you struggled at the other levels, would that be a reasonable thing to do? Would that be an enjoyable thing to do? And almost certainly the answer is no. But even on this level, which I would say of the 5 levels, this is the one that is most enjoyable to play, and I would say that the last level, the boss fight in particular, of the last level, is the most enjoyable to watch. Which is very nice that in the Infinite mode here you have that opportunity to really just play in a no game over mode, and that you don't have to worry about dying. So I'm still not sure it's enough. That's the way it's offered, and definitely also feels like there's sometimes when there's just things you can't really hit. There might really just be a struggle here to get 150,000 on this level too. I really wouldn't expect the levels to be that well designed, that each level was carefully made to give you 150,000 points. Although, you know what, each one does have a boss fight at the end, so you could just give a very random, sneaky amount of points to push the average player over 150,000 in the boss fight. Like that really is the only thing that would save me in this run, is if the boss fight gave me about 70,000 points. Now I don't remember if these levels in the main game had these waves of surface and I wonder if that is something that's added for spore attack, or if that's something that was always there, or if it is something that was added because I'd beaten the game once, which that'd be a weird thing. I kind of wish the wave meant something more, like you were doing a rhythm game. Yeah, I'm gonna need about 50,000 plus, at least 52,000 points here. This is one of the slightly different boss fights where the enemy is more in the center of the screen. It's kind of easy to get stuck. You gotta play both with your ears and with your eyes, but you probably need to fuzz your eyes, for lack of a better term, and not focus it. Like, get to a point where you're looking at the entirety of the screen and using your peripheral vision as much as possible, even though most of the targets are on the center of the screen. Like, still really would need a bonus like 50,000 points for. Let's go ahead. There is a case, I guess, here that you could potentially stretch out the entirety of the experience of these boss fights. Just let it go through several more phases than it really needed to beat it. Not sure I'm even really getting any bonuses by targeting. I may not actually be getting any extra points for hitting the characters. Actually, it doesn't really seem like I am. There's points for hitting the side panels here. But so yeah, this may very much just boil down to the giving it the college try, and as far as so yeah, I have 124,000 unless it's just going to give me another 30,000 points. Nope, it gave me 20,000 points. So unless you got some kind of extra score for getting 100% analyzation or 100% support items, like, yeah, it's just reiterating the score I've already told you. Now, the good news here is there's not really anything in the score tech that says you have to beat the high score. And high scores certainly are a thing of the past by modern standards. Most games never really had a good reason for a score system to exist. And like, that's why most modern games don't bother with it. Now, what we just saw, though, is that I got 100% of the support items in the score attack. Notice that it did not affect the play ratings here, where it still says I have gotten only 94.44 of the support items in Area 1. So for the Beyond options, to get to that, I'm saying that says Mar Alien. I'm not sure. Again, I'm too far away from my screen for my own good. Item collection and shot-down ratio here would have to be at 100% in play mode for all 5 areas. So there really is not a good argument to playing score attack at all, other than literally just trying to get the high score. Because even if you get good at an area, you're then not unlocking the Beyond stuff. In the same way that the Beyond is its own separate menu that feels like it may very well have been added in a different update or by a different group of people working on it. It's just not integrated well at all. Now these ships, I think in particular, are supposed to be hit this way. Like by their large cannon, not by the missiles that they have. I think you're supposed to just target on that until it blows up. There is an interesting thought I just had here, in that this is probably a game that could benefit from having something quite unique in a built-in tool-assisted speedrun. If there was no limitation on the number of lock-ins, if you could program exactly where you want to lock on and fire at what time, that might be very interesting. I wouldn't really want it to become a programming game where you're actually programming, though. I'd almost want it to be like a video editing game where it would say, hey, you actually have done better in this section from this point than you ever did before, so do you want to clip those movements into your best run? You would want to create some unique system there where you would still need to play the game to get versions of runs, but to have a playback file of your actions. And certainly you can justify having an older, shorter looking game if all of a sudden the gimmick is we're recording every single button input and then running a complex program similar to something like DIFF, which is a Linux program to try and highlight the difference in text files. If you could highlight the difference in runs between the same player, that would be technologically groundbreaking, although I'm not sure gamers would really recognize it. It would be an interesting feature, certainly, that then everybody would want to see. You see it in a similar style of that in emulators, in that you can rewind, but even in the case of emulators that are running old NES games, the rewind tends not to be perhaps super long. It just takes more and more space and more RAM if you go more than a few minutes. So if you were going to try and make a game like what I'm suggesting, you almost certainly would have to have sections that are as short as these sections are. But in that wouldn't be too hard. It would be a very different style of game, though. And going for score really does just wreck safety. Throws it out the window. You really would have to become an expert at knowing when you can ignore the next phase and when that is going to totally bite you in the butt. And I've kind of given up on having any high score here in favor of just actually beating the speedrun. What I'd like to do, and yes, this is a little bit cheaty, is go ahead and play each score attack legitimately through once, which will give me 5 defeats on the score attack mode, and then straight up just enter and log out of the first level. Just start it, log out, and see if that counts, or if they've bothered to do that extra programming to test for that kind of cheating thing. So logging in and out of the first level 5 more times will quickly tell me if that works and unlock the next level of the Beyond features, and if it does, then I would do it then 20 more times, I guess. So that's really the way to play. Of course, 20 is a general guess of a number. You may not really need to do it that much because it takes me 2 or 3 attempts to actually beat each score attack. Then I'll already have about 15 attempts already locked in. But I've already completely lost the plot as far as getting a score. You can see I have below 50,000 points. I should be much closer to 100,000 points. Unless the boss battle is just going to give me an extra 100,000 points, which it probably isn't. You do run into a real problem with games like this where they're not really giving you enough time to breathe and enjoy the scenery. Like, more than a you can't die mode, I would prefer if there was a just pre-recorded video mode of some of the best players in the world playing. And yes, I guess YouTube helps quite a bit with that idea, in that you can just go to YouTube and watch a speedrunner play this, and your mileage will vary somewhat between the quality of a speedrunner's video of something like this, whether they're saying anything constructive or saying anything at all, or whether they're playing the game glitchless or just cheating and glitching or doing something that is not within the realm of what the game originally intended, the creators originally intended. So that's why I think there still is a lot of room for particularly games like this that are very skill-based to have potentially a visual version of the gameplay experience, or a Cliff's Notes version of the game. Yeah, I don't really mind revisiting these bosses for the third or fourth time, but once you got to about the fifth or sixth time, I think it probably would get a little repetitive. And I think when you're hitting this guy, you're probably not actually getting any scores anyways. You are getting scores from the yellow, but not so much I think I can really do to target all this and get it as quickly as possible. Also, I just don't want it to hit me. I also feel like the game may be cheating me a little bit when I get into boss modes and Spore Attack, because it feels like it's either evolving me up to a higher level than what I was at when I entered the boss battle, or it's evolving me down to a different level. I think it might be evolving me up, just giving me a more fair chance at actually succeeding. I kind of wish, I I don't know how you do it though. Like, I kind of wish that the shots would matter more. There's just a very small percentage of a rather small percentage of shots that actually target you and can hurt you. And then a lot of shots that are just going to go off the side of the screen. I guess that emulates the fog of war somewhat, but let's see. Yeah, I just beat him, and as I was shooting the boss, I wasn't really doing any damage, and that gave me like 10,000 extra points. Particularly small amount of points there. And I shot down 95% of characters, so it really goes to highlight how the infiltration phase and getting the max combos really matter. Alright, do I want to do another level here? Let's go ahead and do that. These episodes are getting a little bit shorter. I mean longer. Try again. Start at the beginning. Try to get as many combos as possible. Do I get points when I shoot the analyzation in the first place, or is that not the focus? Because if it is a case where doing that actually gave you more score. No, you're not getting score for doing the analyzation, so theoretically you could use it to like fill in a combo at the very end. It may not help you that much. It would almost seem like you maybe need to shoot the analyzation cube and then target and shoot the other enemies. I'm not doing particularly well, and so I'm not really trying again to really get a score, so I'm really just playing the levels the second time. And yeah, on second approach the levels might be a little bit easier, but they're still going to have a bit of a minimum length in how long you can spend on them. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to have the score attack separate in this case. I really should be getting scores, points, in the main game. And I do recognize that there's a slight difference here in that now it's giving me score pickups, whereas the main game didn't have score pickups because it didn't have score mode. But you know what you do there is you unlock score mode when you beat the game for the first time, and then all of a sudden score pickups show up and you start to show a high score. So you still force the player to potentially play through the game a second time, but you just overlap the possibilities of unlocking things, making it easier to unlock things, not forcing the player to effectively decide whether they want to unlock beyond options by playing in play mode, or whether they want to unlock beyond options by playing in score attack mode and get a high score. Yeah, and I'm still really just playing at this point. Seems like maybe you get more health ups in score mode, so maybe there's some slight tweaks here. But honestly, that may just be a case of I didn't do particularly well the first time I played these levels, and it's basically the same amount of health pickups. Still never can understand what this word is they're saying. Yeah, once you're primed to hear one word, you're basically always going to hear that one word, even if it is a different word. Even years later. This is a section where it really is just fairly musical. You are getting score for hitting these, but I don't think you really have to shoot them all down. If you did have to shoot them all down, there's really just no way you would be able to beat this level with 100% shot down. Which that's definitely weird that there's just a real inconsistency there. Can we get this all in one cycle? I guess is the question. I bet the answer is probably no. Basically, none of these beams hit you. They're just visual distractions. Not sure if there is a way that they could hit you. Wait for these to come around. That definitely didn't feel like one cycle. This is a fairly long boss fight, and a very big boss fight, certainly area. You would think in this boss fight that the first couple of waves would be the most dangerous, because there would be the highest number of these drone launchers, but weirdly is fairly consistent throughout the entire run. says the purples are locked, so I'm not sure I can actually defeat the purple drones. And then it's just a certain number, a certain time, and then you're into what is really about a 4th phase, and something that probably should only have a 3 phase. Yeah. And I definitely could just mash the A button faster, but I honestly don't want to wear out my controller. I already go through an Xbox Core controller about one every 16 months or so. So going really furiously on hitting the A button to try and 2-cycle the boss here. It's not something I really want to do. I guess really this is probably another example of if you just needed to get the high score, you could just hope that if you stayed around long enough, he would shoot some more missiles at you, and you could spend 20-30 minutes just in this phase, slowly grinding your score up, although you are going to do it in painful amounts at that point. I think you're probably getting about 50 points to get 50,000. You'd have to take out 1,000 of these guys, and it may very well be a case that these missiles only launch when you hit a lock. So there may be a limiting factor on just how many times you could cause that sequence to happen. What might be an interesting twist is if each of these planets that we are going to, Mars, Venus, if each of those were being explained away as there were civilizations here and they built artificial intelligences, and then eventually those artificial intelligences exploded and destroyed all life on those planets. And so this would be the 5th cycle of life in our solar system trying to survive a emergence of artificial intelligence that inherently, I guess in that implication, would inherently be dangerous and cause to the end of organic life. And it's not really what they're trying to send as a message, though. If anything, this is much more of a humanity positive message, and the idea of this artificial intelligence learning to become a new part of humanity. Alright, so I don't know if we're really accomplishing too much here. We should save ourselves some time here and just see how far we've gotten here. So, clear score attack 5 times is locked. So, when they say clear, do they mean actually clear it? Or can I cheat? Because we've done 3 here, so it would very easily, we'll just log in, log out, log in, log out, and one more for good measure, just so we know we're over 5. So yeah, that would have been 3 times plus this time that we actually played this, and this one and this one. So we should have played Score Tech 6 times now. Nope, that's not going to count. So there is a real hard argument here to justify doing Score Tech that much. I will make another episode and we'll go through the Score Attack for area 4 and 5, but this goal really is beyond me as somebody who just doesn't want to put that much extra effort into playing the game. Now, very naturally, you would clear Score Attack 30 times if you're trying to get over the 150,000 point high score. I don't know if you really need to get that high score, though. Well, you kind of do if you want to get the near camera mode, which I don't know if that's really going to be better, or the far camera mode, or the dynamic camera mode, which feels like it should be dynamic by default, and then first person camera mode. This is a lot of stuff that very possibly should have just been unlocked in as options, not the beam attack and the starting select, but camera mode really should just be an option. But this is going to effectively eat away at my tolerance as far as what I'd really want to do here. So let's see, if I run the game, leave the game running for 10 hours, it may very well be a case that I need to leave it running for 10 hours. I guess you could put it in trance mode for 10 hours and unlock this character select starting option, but I don't know if changing your player select to the final form, for instance, actually gives you the final form beam. These beam types may actually be completely different types of beams, and they may just be color palette swaps. But the game isn't really offering too much to me. And if anything, it's just wearing away at my patience when I really should just go and play Area X. Yes, I would like to still see the good ending of the game, the best ending I could possibly get, but I kind of feel like the way to see that as the final episode is probably to unlock this mode and then turn on this. Well, you can't turn on immortality, can you? It's funny that they're hiding all the locks behind options. So we'd have to beat direct assault, and we'd have to achieve a high score in boss rush mode. So to get to boss rush mode, we have to beat the area's shot down rate of 95%. Wow, so the game really is just going to have me jumping around doing a lot of stuff here. Yeah, and getting a shoot down ratio of area 4 of 95% is probably not that hard. Getting a shot down ratio of 95% in area 5 might be fairly difficult. Now the good news for games like this is that you are getting better at the game. That may make Area X too easy, but I bet it isn't. And I would hope that Area X is at least as long as 2 areas, or at least as long as the final boss area. But yeah, we are being led by the nose far too much in the game and having us jump around between different modes, and yeah, needing to play the game more than is really tolerable. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a significant percentage of players that didn't even make it to the credits of this game just because they didn't like the visuals or the audio here, which, as it is a game that is heavily focused on visuals and audios, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for you to just check out if it's not your style. It would also be nice, certainly in the thought of making a procedurally generated level generator, that since this is a music game, being able to bring in your own music might be interesting. Beat detection in modern technology could certainly do that. If this was a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 game, even then you might have been able to take out the discs after the game loaded and put in a audio CD-ROM and play the tracks there. I think at least the PlayStation 1 games literally had a thing where all the data was in track 1 of an audio CD format, and if you skipped to track 2 or further, all the audio for the game was just regular, like 44 100 kilohertz CD audio wave files, bitmap files. So you could swap things directly, or they had programmed it to work that way. It's not the best system, because if you put a PlayStation type disc into a CD audio player, if you had one back in the day, the first track would screech and yell at you because it's making data modem noises instead of human recognizable music. Anyways, yeah, with modern technology though, you could certainly submit a WAV file in MP3, and then it could scan for the beats and try and have enemy placement line up with the beats somewhat, or ignore that completely and just try its best to play your music over pre-made levels. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.